In the heart of a small, struggling town stood Tom's butcher shop, a modest establishment with faded signage and a cracked glass window that desperately needed replacing. The scent of aged meat lingered in the air, mingling with the dust motes that danced under the flickering fluorescent lights. Although Tom poured every ounce of himself into his craft, business had been tough lately. The rising cost of supplies and dwindling clientele painted a grim picture for the future. Tom was known around town not just for his skill in trimming cuts of meat, but more importantly for his kind-hearted nature. With tousled brown hair streaked with gray and eyes that sparkled with empathy, he treated every customer like family. He could often be found mending fences between neighbors or lending a helping hand to those in need, even if it meant sacrificing his already limited income. His day would often conclude late at night, balancing a ledger that showed more red than black, an ever-present reminder of his financial struggles. Despite the looming threat of bankruptcy and mounting bills, Tom retained hope. He would talk to himself as he organized the cuts of meat, encouraging words laced with an unwavering optimism. "Tomorrow will be better," he would whisper, tapping the countertop as if it were a charm against despair. Even on days when he sold little and had to scrape together spare change for rent, he never lost sight of what mattered most: helping others. On one particularly cold afternoon, as frost began to cloak the town and winter's chill seeped into every crevice, Tom's concern over his finances took a back seat to something far greater. Children en route home from school shifted into view, their laughter disarming even the starkest heartstrings in their wake. Husking corn for an ungrateful family that couldn't feed themselves seemed irrelevant when joy was so contagious. As dusk settled over the cobbled streets and panic rippled through his thoughts about how he might make it through another frigid evening, determination ignited within him. No matter what trials lay ahead, he vowed to remain strong both for himself and those around him, ever ready to lend kindness, comfort, or even just a cheerful smile to brighten their day. Little did he know that this very spirit of generosity would soon lead him down an unexpected path on this seemingly ordinary night. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky transformed into a canvas of deep blues and purples, hinting at the bitter cold that would soon envelop the town. Tom pulled down the metal shutters of his butcher shop, his breath forming small clouds in the biting air. Each exhale felt like a reminder of the warmth he longed for as he locked up one more day filled with hard work and little reward. Outside, the chill of winter had set in with a firm grip, sending icy winds swirling through the deserted streets. The cobblestone paths gleamed under the flickering streetlights, where faint patches of ice glistened like forgotten treasures. Bare trees stood like sentinels against the night sky, their skeletal branches clawing toward the heavens, devoid of life and warmth. It was a lonely scene, not a single soul wandered outside, leaving Tom to feel as if he were walking through a ghost town. As he trudged along, thoughts of tomorrow's challenges weighed heavily on his mind. The meager sales from that day barely scratched the surface of his mounting bills. He couldn't shake off an uneasy feeling in his stomach. It coiled around him like an unwelcome companion. With each step, doubts crept in. What if things didn't get any better? What if he lost everything? Yet amidst this cloud of despair, Tom held on to a thread of hope. Glancing back at his shop now dimmed and silent, he reminded himself that kindness could be just as valuable as coins and could warm even the coldest nights. Determined to keep his heart open, he resolved to hold on to that flicker of positivity, believing it might somehow guide him through these stark times. As he continued walking toward his small apartment nestled just beyond town square, an eerie silence blanketed everything around him. It was in that very stillness that Tom heard something unusual, a faint sound carried by the wind. Curiosity piqued, he slowed his pace and strained to listen more intently. Little did he know that the small moment would lead him to an extraordinary encounter that night, one that would change his life forever. As Tom continued his journey home, the cold air nipped at his cheeks, forcing him to pull his coat tighter around himself. The silence of the streets weighed heavily on him, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant echo of wind. Just as he turned a corner near the park, something caught his eye, a figure huddled on a bench, almost blending into the shadows. Approaching cautiously, Tom felt a pang of concern as he drew nearer. The old man appeared frail and thin, wrapped in a tattered blanket that looked barely capable of warding off the chill. His skin was pale and drawn tight over his bones, and wisps of white hair danced like fragile strands in the biting breeze. The man's eyes were sunken and weary, reflecting a deep-seated distress that tugged at Tom's heartstrings. "Excuse me, sir," Tom called softly, hoping not to startle him. "Are you all right?" The old man looked up slowly, blinking against the cold as if he had just awoken from a long sleep. I'm just waiting," he stammered, his voice trembling as it emerged from cracked lips. "Waiting for someone or something." Tom's gaze softened with empathy as he noticed beads of perspiration forming on the man's forehead despite the cold. It was clear that he was struggling, not just with the weather but with something deeper within himself. A wave of sadness washed over Tom. This man seemed utterly lost in both body and spirit. "Would you like to come inside somewhere warm?" Tom offered gently, instinctively reaching out to comfort him. The thought of leaving this vulnerable figure alone on such a bitter night filled him with dread. The old man hesitated for a moment before nodding slowly. "I suppose I could use some warmth," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. With an encouraging smile, Tom extended his hand to help the old man rise from the bench. As they began to walk together through the empty streets, Tom couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling. This encounter felt significant in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. Little did he know that tonight's act of kindness would set off a chain reaction that would forever alter their lives. As Tom helped the old man rise from the bench, he immediately noticed how frail and fragile the elderly figure was. The cold winds seemed to bite deeper than usual, and Tom felt a pang of helplessness in his chest. Without thinking, he slid off his own coat, a worn but warm garment that had seen better days, and draped it around the old man's shoulders. "Here, this will help keep you warm," Tom said with a reassuring smile. The old man looked taken aback for a moment, blinking in surprise at the unexpected gesture. "Thank you," he murmured softly, pulling the coat closer around him, visibly easing some of his shivering. It was a small act, but in that moment it felt monumental, an exchange of warmth amidst the harsh winter night. Tom guided the man gently along the path toward a nearby shelter he remembered from years past. Each step they took together seemed to forge an invisible bond between them, a shared understanding of hardship and vulnerability that few could grasp without having walked similar paths. Tom offered small words of comfort as they walked, reminding himself that even in tough times, compassion could bridge any chasm. "You know," Tom began hesitantly as they made their way through the quiet streets, "I used to feel lost like you do now." He glanced sideways at his companion, who was now looking more alert yet still haunted by something inside. "But there are always people willing to help if we just let them." The old man nodded slowly as they walked on. It was as if each word sank into the depths of his weary heart. With every gust of wind that sent frosty air swirling around them, Tom's resolve grew stronger. He wanted to ensure this stranger would not have to face another lonely night without support. As they approached the shelter's entrance, a warm glow spilled out onto the sidewalk like an invitation from nature itself. Tom felt an unexpected swell of hope within him. Sometimes acts of kindness were not just about giving but about rediscovering one's humanity amidst despair. Holding the door open for the old man, he stepped aside and gestured for him to enter first. In doing so, he recognized that tonight wouldn't just alter this old man's fate, it would open new possibilities for him too, perhaps in ways he could not yet understand. As they walked side by side, the old man drew a shaky breath, seeming to gather his thoughts before he began to share snippets of his life. "You know," he murmured, looking down at his worn shoes as they shuffled along the cobbled street, "this isn't how it always was for me. I used to live in a grand house, brimming with laughter and life." Tom's curiosity grew as he listened intently, momentarily forgetting the cold wrapping around them. "I was a businessman once," the old man continued, his voice gaining strength with each word. "I owned several successful ventures. People looked up to me, I was admired and respected." He paused for a moment, his expression turning wistful. "But money has a sneaky way of hiding the truth, doesn't it? It can blind you to what really matters." Intrigued, Tom pressed gently, "What happened? How did it all change?" The old man sighed deeply, his features tightening as shadows flitted across his face. "A series of bad investments and partnerships with the wrong people stripped me of my wealth almost overnight." He shook his head as if trying to shake off the memories. "My so-called friends vanished like smoke when I needed them most. Before long, I found myself alone, navigating the world without the safety net I once took for granted." As they progressed toward the shelter, Tom absorbed every detail, piecing together the complex layers of this man's life, a stark contrast to the fragile figure shivering beside him now. "It's jarring to realize how quickly life can change," Tom remarked thoughtfully. "I understand that all too well." The old man nodded slowly, looking back into the past with sorrowful eyes. "Yes, it is. But it taught me that wealth isn't just about money, it's about connections and kindness." He paused again, glancing at Tom with a newfound intensity. "You have no idea how much your kindness means to someone who has lost everything. It reminds me that appearances can be deceiving." Tom felt a swell of gratitude wash over him. Here was a man who had once occupied heights of success yet now found solace in simple acts of compassion. Their paths may have been different, but they were united in their shared understanding of human fragility and the strength found in vulnerability. As they neared their destination, Tom realized perhaps this connection was more than mere chance. It was a reminder that true riches lie in human connection and support, something he longed to nurture in himself and his community. As they reached the warm glow of the shelter, the old man paused just outside the door, turning to Tom with a serious expression that dampened the moment's lightness. "Before we go in," he said, a glint of something unspoken flickering in his eyes, "there's something I need to tell you." Tom nodded, his curiosity piqued. "What is it?" The old man took a deep breath, words clearly weighing heavily on him. "I'm not just some unfortunate soul who lost everything. In reality, I'm a millionaire, though you'd never know it by looking at me." Tom blinked in surprise, struggling to reconcile the image of this frail figure with the concept of wealth. "A millionaire?" he echoed incredulously. "But why are you here? Why live like this?" A knowing smile crept onto the old man's face as he gestured toward the cozy interior of the shelter. "Because life isn't about money or possessions, it's about how we contribute to others and find meaning in our experiences." His fingers curled slightly as he spoke, emphasizing each point. "I chose to live modestly because I wanted to strip away the superficial layers people often associate with wealth. In my early days of success, I had everything: houses, cars, status, but I felt hollow inside. It wasn't until I lost it all that I discovered what true fulfillment really means." Tom absorbed this revelation with growing intrigue as they stepped into the warmth of the shelter together. The comforting scent of homemade soup wafted through the air, wrapping around them like a soft embrace during their steady journey from cold despair to hopeful connection. "I decided to live simply," the old man continued, eyes brightening as he spoke of purpose rather than loss. "I wanted to devote my life to helping people like you and me who might be struggling in silence. The world can be harsh and isolating. We all deserve a little kindness." In that moment, Tom realized how deeply perceptive this man was, not only about society's expectations but also about his own experience navigating through life's relentless waves. The stark contrast between their lifestyles became less about riches and more about shared humanity and understanding. As they prepared their plates inside the bustling room filled with laughter and warmth from others seeking refuge from the cold night, Tom felt an inexplicable bond deepening between them. A reminder that appearances could be deceiving and that wealth truly lay in compassion and connection. As they settled into the shelter, the warmth enveloped them like a comforting blanket and the smell of hearty soup filled the air. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter and chatter as patrons gathered at tables, sharing meals and stories. Yet, amidst the bustle, Tom couldn't shake off the weight of the old man's revelations. After a few moments of silence, his mind still reeling from their earlier conversation, the old man turned to Tom with a gleam in his eyes. "You know, your kindness tonight is rare," he began thoughtfully. "It reminds me of who I used to be before everything changed. It gives me hope that there are still good souls in this world." Tom looked up, puzzled but intrigued by where this was leading. "I just did what anyone should do," he replied modestly. The old man shook his head firmly. "No, what you did was extraordinary. In a world that often turns a blind eye to suffering, choosing to help someone without knowing their story speaks volumes about your character." He paused, gauging Tom's reaction before continuing with an unexpected proposal. "I'd like to offer you more than just friendship tonight." Tom raised an eyebrow in surprise. "What do you mean?" "I run a charitable foundation that helps people in need locally," the old man explained, his voice steady and sincere. "I've been seeking someone trustworthy and compassionate to help me manage it, a role that can make a real difference in our community. I believe you would be perfect for it." For a moment, Tom struggled to comprehend what he was hearing. "A job? With purpose?" His heart raced as hope surged through him alongside disbelief. "Are you serious? You want me to join you?" "Absolutely," the old man affirmed with conviction. "Your compassion has already shown me that you care deeply about others. I want to harness that passion into something impactful." A wave of gratitude washed over Tom as he processed the unexpected twist of fate unfolding before him, a chance not only to secure his financial future but also to transform his community through goodwill. "This opportunity is beyond anything I could have imagined," Tom finally said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've always wanted to do more for those around me." Smiling warmly, the old man extended his hand, sealing their new partnership amid laughter and camaraderie inside the shelter. As they shook hands, Tom felt an exhilarating sense of purpose blossom within him. Tonight had not just altered one life, it had ignited a flame of hope that promised brighter days ahead for both of them. In the weeks that followed his unexpected job offer, Tom's life began to transform in ways he had never imagined. Working alongside the old man, whose name was revealed to be Harold, Tom dove headfirst into the world of charity. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities to make a difference in his community. With Harold's guidance, Tom learned how to manage funds, organize events, and connect with local businesses for support. The more he engaged in this work, the more he discovered his own strengths and passions. The foundation focused on providing meals for families in need, offering job training programs, and assisting the homeless. Tom quickly became an integral part of this mission, coordinating efforts and rallying volunteers from the community. As he navigated these responsibilities, he found joy in seeing the impact they were making. People who once walked with their heads down now lifted them in gratitude and hope. Every evening after a busy day, Tom would return to his modest apartment, exhausted but fulfilled. The weight of his previous financial struggles began to lift as his salary from the foundation improved his situation significantly. No longer did he dread counting pennies to get by. Instead, he was now building a future filled with possibilities. Yet it wasn't just financial security that transformed him, it was the sense of purpose that ignited a new light in his spirit. He realized how deeply rewarding it was to help others, how each smile he received in return made every ounce of effort worthwhile. The connection he forged with the townspeople rekindled a sense of community he had longed for while running his butcher shop. Moreover, working alongside Harold fostered a mentor-mentee relationship that enriched both their lives. Harold shared stories from his past, instilling wisdom not just about charity but about life itself. Through their discussions, Tom gained insights into resilience and humility, reminding him that wealth is not defined solely by monetary value but by the impact one has on others. As spring approached, the foundation held its first large community event, a cooking festival celebrating local cuisine, with funds raised to continue their work. Tom stood at the forefront, energized and proud as families gathered to enjoy food and laughter together, a celebration of unity and hope. In that moment, surrounded by the people whose lives they were touching, Tom realized he had found not only a fulfilling career but a new family within his town now. A place where kindness thrived and where he was no longer just a struggling butcher but an essential part of something much larger than himself. As Tom settled into his role at the charitable foundation alongside Harold, their partnership began to yield tangible benefits for the entire community. Together, they launched several initiatives aimed at uplifting the town, addressing immediate needs while fostering a sense of unity and hope among its residents. One of their first projects was a weekly food distribution program. Tom organized volunteers to gather surplus food from local businesses and transform it into nutritious meals for families struggling to make ends meet. The smell of freshly prepared dishes wafted through the air every Saturday morning as families lined up outside the shelter, greeted by smiles and warm greetings. Watching children's faces light up as they received hearty meals filled Tom with joy. He was not just providing food, he was restoring dignity and comfort to those in need. In addition to feeding the hungry, Tom and Harold recognized the importance of education and skill development. They established job training workshops at the shelter, inviting local experts to teach valuable skills from resume writing to interview techniques. As unemployed individuals gained confidence and new competencies, many found jobs, creating ripples of positivity throughout the town. It was heartening to see once despondent faces transform into those filled with determination. The foundation didn't stop there. They also initiated a mentorship program that paired youth with local artisans and entrepreneurs. Young people learned trade skills while also receiving guidance on pursuing their dreams. This initiative fostered relationships that bridged generational gaps, allowing wisdom and experience to flow between mentors and ments. As word spread about the foundation's efforts, more community members began volunteering their time and expertise. The town's atmosphere shifted. People who once felt isolated began to connect over shared experiences and aspirations. Local businesses chipped in too, sponsoring events or donating resources, which bolstered a sense of collective accountability for one another. The annual Spring Festival became a hallmark event that showcased local talent, crafts, and food, a celebration not only of community spirit but also of resilience in the face of adversity. Tom watched with pride as laughter echoed around him, families dancing together, enjoying music and delicious homemade treats. It was a testament to how far they had come since those early days of struggle. Through their unwavering commitment to uplift others, Tom and Harold had woven a rich tapestry of connection within the community. They had turned a town grappling with despair into one filled with compassion, support, and hope, a living example that even in difficult times, kindness can create profound change. As Tom reflected on this journey, he felt not only proud but also grateful for the chance encounter that led him here. It had truly transformed not just his life but countless others as well. As Tom reflected on his journey, he marveled at how a single act of kindness had rippled through his life and the lives of so many others in the community. What began as a cold night spent helping a stranger had blossomed into a profound transformation, not just for him but for the entire town. Through the Foundation's work, he had witnessed the power of generosity and compassion firsthand, recognizing that these qualities are often hidden beneath the surface in people's lives. The once struggling butcher had become a beacon of hope and resilience, demonstrating that everyone carries a story, some filled with hardship and others with unexpected wealth, like Harold. This revelation about wealth had reshaped Tom's understanding of richness itself. He learned that true wealth isn't measured in money or possessions but in the relationships we build and the impact we have on others. Tom realized that during his earlier struggles he had equated success with financial stability. Now, standing amidst the laughter and camaraderie of families enjoying the spring festival they had organized, he understood that happiness flourishes from meaningful connections. It was evident in the way people shared meals, celebrated achievements, and supported one another through life's challenges. The town was no longer just a backdrop to his life but a vibrant tapestry woven from shared experiences and mutual support. Each smile exchanged between neighbors held a promise of belonging. Every child receiving a warm meal represented hope for a brighter future. Tom felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for having discovered this truth, a truth that propelled him to continue working tirelessly alongside Harold and their growing team of volunteers. As the sun set on another successful day, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Tom pondered the many hidden truths that lay within each person he encountered. The realization struck him that everyone has the potential to uplift others. All it takes is one moment of kindness to ignite a spark of change. With newfound purpose fueling his actions, Tom embraced his role in the community wholeheartedly. He understood now that he was not just helping others, he was also feeding his own soul. The richness of life was found in these connections of lifting each other up and creating a legacy built on compassion and generosity. And as he looked around at the faces illuminated by joy and laughter, he knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey for him and his beloved town.